The following is rated S for spoilers.
Like the sweet morning dew, I took one look at you, and it was...
You did not work on this.
We did. Just not, like, together.
Dios mío. Duet. It's in the word. You must do it together.
Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Hangover. My name is Alex.
My name is Graham.
And today we're going to be discussing Coda and what it takes to be a Best Picture winner at the Oscars. Graham, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
What did you think of Coda?
Dude, I loved it. Honestly, I was able to, genuinely enjoy that movie. More than I thought I would, really. I hadn't heard much about it besides, what it won at the Oscars, when it did. And I think I recall watching the trailer, when it was, before it came out on Apple TV. Because, when you're scrolling through, it just, pops up. We kind of watched through it. And, but no, it was really good. I liked it a lot.
I think it was one of my biggest surprises when I was going through the, the Best Picture nominees. That was the last one I saw. And I think this is the first time where my pick for Best Picture, actually won. Yeah. It's also ironic because last year my pick was Sound of Metal, which is about a drummer who goes deaf. So it's music and
deaf people.
I guess I have a style that I like. But yeah, Coda was written and directed by Sean Hayter, based on the motion picture, a French film. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name.
I was trying to say it in my head. I was absolutely not. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, today. I'm okay. From what I've heard, it's basically the same thing, but it's not.
Not American.
It's not American. No, you got that one right.
Let's go.
It's from what I understand, it was this is more grounded than that one is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's starring Amelia Jones, Troy Koster, Daniel Durant, and Marlee Matlin. It originally released at Sundance Film Festival in early January. Right. And it broke records for being for winning the most awards out of any film to go through Sundance, which started a bidding war between streaming services, and Apple won. They gave them $25 million distribution deal, and they had a budget of $10 million. So it's in terms of just
that movie was made in $10 million.
Yes.
Holy crap.
And it won Best Picture against stuff like Dune and The Power of the Dog, massive.
Way more millions of dollars.
Yes, this was
hundreds of million dollars.
This was a true David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was my pick going in. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very new and interesting take on a pretty old coming of age story.
Yeah.
But I was thoroughly impressed. For those of you who might not know, Coda is about a young girl named Ruby Rossi, played by Amelia Jones, who is a Coda, which stands for a child of deaf adults. I
did not know that.
Yes.
Did they say that in the movie?
No.
Okay, good.
So
I missed something really big. Well, yeah, it's the title, but
yeah. Well, this is totally off topic, but something interesting about the title. It's literally Ruby is a coda, which is why it's called that. But also, coda is a musical term that's used in music. You might have, let's use a pop song, for example, just because it's easy. You would have your verse and then a chorus and verse, chorus, whatever.
Right.
And let's say you wanted to go back. You want to replay the chorus, but then you don't want to you don't just want to have a repeat. In music, you have repeats, and you would just go through and play the exact same thing. Okay. What you might have is it'll say go to the sign, and so the sign will take you back to a piece, and you start playing through it, and then there'll be another thing that says DSL coda, and you go to the coda, which is the end. So in a musical sense, it's kind of she's doing the same thing over and over again, but then she has to go to her own ending at another part of the music. So it's this crazy double meaning that I don't know if Sean Hayter intended to do, but I
think if anyone were to ask him, he's going to 100%
Sean Hayter's
say yes.
a female, by the way.
She would say yes, 100%.
No, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, Ruby is a coda, and her family runs a fishing business, not a shipping business. They run a fishing business, and they rely on her to translate. But Ruby also really enjoys singing, and when she joins the local school choir, she realizes that she's really good, and she wants to go and pursue a career in music and in singing, and so it causes all sorts of drama and struggles with her family about, you know, does she stay and help them, or does she go and pursue her own passions and careers, which I think, I mean, like, this was a very like real story with like lots of tension, like just throughout. I thought it was just
a lot of different types
brilliant.
of tension throughout the whole movie.
Yes, I am a sucker for Damien Chazelle. He is my favorite writer director of all time, and one of I think his like trademark stories in that, like La La Land and Whiplash are so memorable, are their endings and the way he structures them. And Coda had a very similar structure to this with, you know, the way he does it is he makes you think that you're going to come to an ending, and then
an ending that makes sense for everyone.
And then all hell breaks loose, and then you kind of like you think you're going to climax, like, but wait, there's one more hill we have to go over.
Yeah.
And this was very similar with, you know, she goes to audition and everything. You're expecting it to be this feel good. Everything goes great, and then everything does not go great.
Right.
And, you know, there's all these struggles, but she overcomes them. And I don't know. So I also, like, even from like a structural standpoint, like, it was really well crafted. And it was just, I think the key word for this is just simplicity. Like, it had a small budget. There was nothing particularly fancy about the shots.
No.
One thing I did really like in the cinematography was how they would use like ultra wides a lot, to show like, and then they'd show like Ruby like isolated, like when she goes to like the little lake thing for the first time, and like you see her like in a small corner, and then you have this massive like lake next to her. Like, everything they did was just, it was so simple, and I think that's what made it so good.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
No, 100%. I agree with that.
So I mean, it's a very basic coming of age story. But it was I feel like it was they had a different take on it. You know, again, just making it real. One of the big criticisms of the movie is that it feels like a Disney Channel movie.
I didn't get that.
You didn't get that?
I mean, like, it felt, it 100% was like the like classic cliche, like coming of age story. But I feel like there was just like, when you watch a Disney movie, like if you were to like compare this to something stupid, say like High School Musical. Okay, throw High School Musical and Coda. Okay, both like high school people singing, dancing, doing what they do. Okay, like High School Musical, there's nothing real in that besides, you didn't get picked for your play, you're gonna cry and then sing about it. Sure, like Coda, like it just didn't feel. I feel like, I mean, obviously this movie hit way deeper in several areas, and like I just feel like it wasn't like, it didn't feel like, I would not have assumed this was Disney movie.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I never would have come up to that conclusion on my own. But, you know, reading reviews and things, a lot of people were upset that it won because it's just another Disney Channel movie. But like, yeah, like you said, like, there are real like tensions, there are real stakes. Whereas in a Disney Channel movie, it's just, oh no, I didn't make the play, or like, you know, whatever. There was no like right answer. And like, I think that was one of the brilliant things about it too, like from an audience perspective, is, you know, while at the end there is like a very clear and definite resolution,
right?
Like, both sides, like, Ruby makes excellent points. She needs to go and live her life, like, but also like her family like does need her, and she's never done anything about her family. So like, there are like, I think that's one thing that makes this movie so captivating to watch, is everyone has really good points for why they do the things they do, and like why they.
And this movie, it did so well of giving each character, like, not like its own like time, but like each character was developed so well. Like, you understood the reason for each person and why they did it. Like, everything. Like, it was, I mean, like, you know, you see things from the mom's point of view and like the dad's point of view, like on the boat, and like, it's just everything. And like, obviously her, you know, dude, I just went brain dead for a second. Like, her point of view on everything. It's just, man, it's
like, and like, even like her and her brother's relationship, like, felt like. And the other thing I liked too is that everyone in the family had a role to play. Like, they very could have easily just had, you know, her brother be there just to make jokes and to do like dirty signs and things. But no, like, it was a major plot point. Like, he was the reason that like she ended up making the decisions that she did, when she was like, we aren't helpless. We can do things on our own. Yeah. I mean, he's the big brother, but everyone looks at him like he's worthless, and he's second to his baby sister. Like, so like, you know, everything like with her mom was like, she just wants to be a good mom, but doesn't know how. She can't understand this whole singing thing. Yeah. Her dad, you know, kind of the same thing. Like,
it's just such a like crazy take on that too, because like you really don't know. And kind of like we're just talking about, like there's one part of the movie where it's like you hear her singing, you hear everything, and it just literally switches to like the hearing point of view of the parents, and it's just silent. And I was like sitting I was like, dude, like sometimes I need some noise. Like, that just blew my mind. That really was like, that was really cool to see how they did that. But also like you really just don't think about that. Right. You hear everything. I hear everything. Like that's, and then it just switches. And I was like, wow. Like that was cool. That was,
Yeah. Like I love like studying structure in movies and everything. And so like I've gotten really good at like predicting, here's like, this is the murderer or, whatever, just, and so I always just like instinctively like try to guess like what's going to come next. And just, it's like a Disney Channel coming of age story. I've seen it a million times. So I was like, I know what's going to happen. They're going to go to this play. Her parents are sitting around confused, and then she's going to start signing. And so I was sitting there like, look, her parents are looking around confused. They don't understand. And like, she's doing her duet. She's going to sign. And early in the movie, they were setting up all this stuff about how she's getting made fun of. And so I thought, like, this will be a big like hero moment. And then, then they went silent. And I was like, whoa. Like, I was
not ready for that.
It was the most simple, obvious decision they could have made. Like, it was the best decision they could have made. But like, and that's, like I was saying earlier, like, it's the same thing we've seen a million times, but just done differently. Better. Yeah, in some aspects. Like, would my, prediction have been fine? Yeah, it would have. But like, I think that's what most movies would have done, but this, like, they took the extra leap. And I mean, they did end up doing that exact thing at the end of the movie, but like, it still took me for a twist, which when a movie can do that, for me, like,
it's impressive.
It's, I mean, not to be like, I'm the greatest, but like, it always like, just when I see, like, that's one of the things that makes a movie like really memorable for me was whenever I can't tell what's going to happen next. Yeah. Unless it's Tenet, in which case, like, I didn't know what was happening.
I didn't even know what was going on until I watched it for like the third time, and I was like, wow.
That's the only movie that I've seen where I had no idea where it was going, because I didn't know what was happening.
Talking to one of the guys at work the other day, and he had no idea about it. Never heard of it.
Really?
And I was like, how did you not hear about that? So I'm like going through telling him about it, and he was like, yeah, I got to watch that, because we were just talking about Batman hit HBO Max today and all this stuff, and so he was like, yeah, I love Robert Pattinson. And I was like, yeah, you got to watch that. So,
but yeah, Tenet was interesting, to say the least. I think they tackled deafness beautifully. I've seen lots. I don't want to speak for the deaf community, but I've seen lots of positive things coming from them. Yeah. About the way they're represented. One of the things I noticed was the subtlety in a lot of the decisions they made. When I initially watched it, I saw it on Apple TV Plus. But then after it won, I went and I found a local theater who was showing it, and seeing it on the big screen was really cool. But like hearing it on nice professional like speakers was a totally different experience. Just like they were so at times like especially like in the house, like there would be moments where Ruby or a friend would be over, whatever, and like they would really emphasize how loud everyone was being. Yeah. Because they
don't realize
they don't know.
Right.
Right. Like when she's doing her homework, like there was just the differences in dynamics with the sound design. I think that's one thing I haven't seen a lot of people talk about with this movie was I thought the sound design was brilliant. Like,
it was done so well.
Yeah. Just the way they did it. Another really subtle thing, and I don't typically notice this kind of thing, but for whatever reason, like it caught my eye the second time I watched it, was throughout the whole movie, Ruby wears basically the same outfit in different colors. Like she wears like a tank top and a plaid shirt and
maybe
like,
a jacket over that.
Like jeans, maybe like, maybe put a hoodie on top. Like she wears like very comfortable clothes, puts her hair up, whatever. The entire movie, except for like the fall concert. And then when they go to the audition, she's like, she is dressed up way more than like she normally is throughout the entire movie. And then when they get there and they see everyone's in like people these like suit prom and tie, dresses, like those subtle details that you don't notice, but like when she walks in and is like, I'm not dressed for this, like she probably thought she was like she was dressed up.
She knew her nice.
Yeah, like that was her nice like, clothes. Sunday she thought she was doing great, and like just those subtle little details throughout the whole thing that like really like when you get to that point, you as an audience member can also feel like, oh, like you tried.
Yeah, she was not ready for that.
You were not prepared. And like that whole sequence where, she's just her boyfriend's like, yeah, I choked, or like,
Yeah.
she didn't bring her sheet music. She didn't know she had to. Like, just there were so many subtle things throughout the entire movie that I think that's kind of what made the movie for me, was like all the subtle details. And
if it was a Disney movie, she would have been ready, bro. All I'm saying.
if it was a Disney movie, she would have been like Cinderella. Like everyone else would have been.
Someone would have come out of the back. I have an extra dress, and it fits you perfectly. Like, yeah, but no, I kind
of want to talk about the acting in this movie, because I thought, again, the subtlety and just the technical aspects in the plot were great, but like I think the acting was what really sold it. Troy Koster, he won Best Supporting Actor.
I have a question, because I genuinely don't know. Is any of those main four, or like the mom, the dad, are any of them actually deaf?
All three of them are deaf.
Okay, cool. I genuinely I didn't know if their acting was like just like past perfect, because I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah. Everyone who's deaf in the movie is deaf in real life.
Okay.
Cool. Which is one of the reasons why, a lot of the deaf community, like, that's why it worked so well, is because they actually have people who are deaf and who are experiencing this, like, are actually making it. But yeah, the Troy Koster, who won Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, gave a beautiful speech. I thought I had heard his name before, and I wasn't sure where, until I read that he was in The Mandalorian Season 2 as a Tusken Raider, and he actually helped them develop the Tusken sign language that Mando uses in that first episode, and then they carried over into Book of Boba Fett. Like, he helped them develop the sign language. That's
so dope.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Do you know which one he was? Which Tusken? Is he like the main one, like training Boba, or you just
not in Boba? In Mando, he was there.
Oh, okay.
And then like they used the same. I think he was like an advisor for Boba, just because he had made it. Like, he literally created a language.
That's so dope.
Yeah. I thought Troy Koster did an amazing job, but I think the standout for me was obviously Emilia Jones. This was like her first big,
like your big break,
big role. When I watched it the second time, I was like actually watching the credits, and I noticed that her name is spelled with an E. I was like, that's weird. I feel like that's only British people do that. So I looked it up, and she's British, and like,
I would have had no idea.
Her voice is totally different. Does not sound like normally, like, a British person doing an American accent, like they still sound the same. Just does not sound like, she sounds like a different person entirely. It is crazy. But like, I was shocked. But the other thing is, I was watching some interviews, and a lot of people would ask her like, what was the hardest part about doing this? And I think she's gonna have a really bright future, just because the maturity and like the way she was approaching some of the scenes was like mind blowing. She's only 20 years old, and so which is another thing I was impressed by, was like the teenagers were actually played by like
teenagers.
Like 20's not. I don't know. She maybe like
20's
19
not like
when they filmed
young,
it,
but still, that's like younger than us. Like, that blows my mind.
Yeah, like it's not like a 30-year-old like.
I would say I figured 26, 28. Like, if I had to guess.
Yeah, so she was only 20, but like, she was saying that like one of the hardest scenes was the audition scene, because coming into it, she didn't know like how to sing like professionally. So she took like 9 months of singing lessons, and she didn't know how to sign. So she took 9 months of signing.
Bro.
So that in itself is like,
that's dedication.
That's dedication to a role.
Wow.
But then in the audition scene, one of the things, yet again, another thing I really appreciated about this movie was all of the singing sequences were recorded live. So in some like musicals, like Greatest Showman, I hate how like there's the one with like Zac Efron and Zendaya when they're like swinging on like ropes and stuff, and they're singing this beautiful song. Like, song's dope, but like that's not how that works.
No.
And that bugs me so much. But yeah, so they actually shot, they actually recorded her voice live, and so they were shooting it from multiple angles. So if she screws up, they can't use that. They can't use it because the audio's messed up. But the other issue is she's also signing, which she's not used to signing and singing. So she's singing about two things at once. So she also has to sign it perfectly each time. And then if it comes down to it, like if her voice cracks, but it's the only take where she signed it correctly, they're going to use this take where they signed it correctly. So every single take they did, she had to do it perfectly. And like,
bro, that stresses me out.
Yeah, but like
insane.
That is not something that I feel like even veteran actors would be thinking about. They would just say they'll fix it in post. But the fact that like And like
this
that's
budget
something
didn't have post.
right. Yeah. Like
they had one take.
Facts. But like, that's not something a normal person like thinks about. But like,
Right.
I was really impressed with that. And she was also saying another thing I just didn't think about was, you know, they have all these like sequences where she's in like meetings or like translating for her parents. I think one of the examples she used a lot, like specifically was after her dad gets her fishing license taken away and they're at, like, at the court or whatever.
Yeah.
She has to learn her lines and just know like what to say.
Right.
But she also has to be able to look at Troy Coster and know his lines and what he's signing, so then she can repeat them
off
back.
of him, right.
So she has to know her lines in dialogue and sign. She has to know Troy Coster's lines in dialogue and sign. She also has to know the people on the panel in dialogue and in sign, so she can do all of
she
it.
can repeat it back.
Yeah, so she was doing like.
Girl could probably be a licensed like Coda, like a real like.
Well, I mean,
real Coda, but like
there was definitely help on there,
yeah.
but like, imagine like having a page of like several pages of a script, and your name is on there a couple of times, but you have to know every single line on that script, like, and not only every single line, but how to do it in a language that you learned 9 months ago.
Right.
Like, that's
and they were signing
insane.
fast, man. Mm-hmm. That was fast. That is wild too. That blew me away because it was so well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the most interesting conversations I had was I was on a mission trip and we drove. It was like a 17-hour drive, and one of the girls on the trip, like she wants to work with the deaf community, and like so she's been signing for a long time, and so she was like we were in the back of cars, like she was trying to teach us like etiquette and like basic signs, and it was super interesting. Like, you know, a thing I didn't know was like everyone has like a specific sign name. So like I could spell out your name and sign, or it's easier for like you would have a very specific sign that would have to do with your name, kind of like in some like cultures where like you do something special and then like you get a new name because of that, something like that. Or like if you're a hearing person, like you can't have a deaf name until a deaf person gives it to you, like stuff like that. And like I tried doing it like several times throughout the movie just to like try to understand, but like it's rude to like look at your hands, particularly with girls, because their hands are like around their breasts, and so it's awkward. So like when two people are signing, you look them in the eyes and you use your peripheral vision to know what they're signing. Which like, and I was trying, and I was like, I mean, it probably doesn't help that I don't know any sign language, but like I can't imagine having to like
be
only
like
use
up
peripherals.
here, but like down here.
Right.
No,
it's crazy. Yeah. So I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought the signing in this movie was just incredible.
Did you know I took sign language for 3 years?
Did you really?
Yeah, I can sign the whole alphabet.
Can you sign anything else?
No.
So you learned how to.
I think
sign the
this is
alphabet.
like boy or something. Cause like a ball
Okay.
cap. That's straight up all I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're gonna sign the rest of this episode?
Absolutely.
For our audio podcast. Yeah. So I mean, I think one of the big questions. I mean, obviously we have lots of prizes for it, but like, I think it winning Best Picture was a major surprise. Like even to me, like I was expecting Power of the Dog to win. I didn't particularly want it to win, but
Right.
that seemed like
the obvious choice for
I
what
mean,
went into it and what was done with it. And
a lot of the other movies I can kind of give reasons as to why I didn't think it won. You know, Dune isn't, while it was impressive, it's not a full story.
right.
It's half the
Like
story.
part one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head other nominees. King Richard. They had two brilliant characters that could have followed, and instead they decided to follow their dad. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Kind of lost from the beginning, but
Yeah, like, you know, Nightmare Alley looked beautiful. I was
I'm
really
excited
hoping
to see it. I haven't even seen that yet.
I was really hoping it would win Best Cinematography. And it was fine, but it's based off an old movie, and I kept waiting for like a big plot twist or a big reveal, and it just never happened. And maybe again that's just because I am freakishly good at like predicting like what comes next.
Right.
But like it was just it felt like, I mean, the movie I think was from like the 20s. Like it's a very, very old movie.
Oh,
and it
shoot,
felt
okay.
like a 20s kind of like storyline. I don't know. So it wasn't anything particularly great. West Side's already won a Best Picture.
right.
what was the other? Oh, Licorice Pizza is just disturbing.
That I never wanted to see. I saw
it's called Licorice Pizza. That's
like a poster for it in a theater, and I was like, I will never. That was just in my head. Just I'm okay. Yeah. I don't need that. No one needs that.
I was not a fan of a 20-something-year-old deciding, do I want to date this 15-year-old? Maybe not. And the 15-year-old's like a businessman who sells waterbeds and owns like an arcade. I don't know. It was a weird movie, but like,
who greenlit that? I'm genuinely curious. Who was at the head of that table? And I was like, yeah,
yep, that's it. That's the one.
It got nominated. I mean, maybe they're doing something right, but dude, it's not in my.
Yeah, but I mean, Power of the Dog. I don't have a really good reason for why it didn't win. Overall, it was a really great movie. It was shot beautifully. What
was that one about?
Power of the Dog. It had Benedict Cumberbatch in it, Jesse Plemons, Kirsten Dunst.
Cowboys, right?
Cowboys. Yes,
it's a
Western.
Got you.
It is a Western movie that doesn't use any of the Western tropes, which was interesting. About
I remember you were saying
like,
it was the way it was filmed too, and the way they used certain lenses for shots.
Yeah, so
really
like
well done.
Yeah, like one of the main premises in that movie is there's a mountain in the distance, and that's kind of like one of like the central themes is like there's this mountain, and so when you shoot on a really wide lens, things look smaller,
right?
Because it's really wide, and that's just how lenses work. But when you shoot on longer lenses that are zoomed in more, it compresses the background, so things that are far in the distance look bigger and a lot closer. So when they shot it, the mountain was physically several miles away, but it looks massive and like it's a stone's throw away, which was really clever. And like the way that I was listening to a podcast with a cinematographer and like, not cinematographer, the DOP, but like the way that they would stage all their scenes, like they would have a camera that'd be super far away. But then everyone would be like several feet away. Like you'd have one person here, one person in the midground, one person in the background. And like there'd be tons of physical distance, but because of the way they were shooting it, it was all compressed. And so you could still see, like your brain recognizes that there's distance, but like it looks like it's all on one like stage. I don't know. It was really, technically, it was a very impressive film. And it was an interesting story. Yeah. I think I need to see it again. I've heard that when you watch it again, some of those movies where like you get to the end and then when you watch it again and you see all the things that
you missed the first time
time. So I definitely need to watch it again. But that was one of the big ones that going into it, and it, from what I remember, it only won Best Director, which was a bit of a shock. So that was one of the big ones going into it. But I think another reason why Coda was the winner was just because of the way the Academy voting process works. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not.
So I always thought that like, the Academy would get together and like have a big like round table like discussion, and they'd say, here's who we think should win, and they'd like take a vote and majority wins.
That'd be pretty sick.
But that's not how it works at all. It's based on a tiered system. So like you would go in and you would write, here's my first choice for Best Picture, here's my second choice, third choice, etc. And so you would basically rank all of the movies in the best, all the Best Picture nominees, and then they take all those lists, and I don't know exactly how it works, but I would assume they would just add up, first number 1 is 1 point, 2 is 2 points. Right. They would add it up in golf rules, whichever movie has the lowest score wins Best Picture. So hypothetically, if Coda got second choice on every single voter's slip, but Power of the Dog got first choice on 25, third choice on 25, fifth choice on 25%. Coda's still going to win, even though other people had it on first place. So I think that's part of why it won, was just
There's more of like the average choice.
Right. I can't imagine everyone had Coda at the top of their list, but I think it was high enough on people's list and significant enough that it somehow eked through. I would love to see like the numbers, like specifically like.
So who votes?
The Academy. So the way the Academy works is they take people for each category. They take people who are working in that category and they vote. So Best Director is voted on by actual directors. And best editor is voted on by actual editors.
Can you vote for yourself?
No.
Dang.
So, yeah.
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 I mean, that makes sense. I just like genuinely was like, I just didn't know if it was like a group of like 5 or 6 old dudes. Just like, I mean, like in a respectable like position. That's why they're there. But like, I just genuinely didn't know if they were, like, all
to be fair,
had like a movie night, and they were like, yeah, that's.
To be fair, I'm sure most of the people in all the categories are like 5 old white dudes.
Probably.
Which is why there's been so much controversy in the Oscars recently. Like,
yeah.
You know, with just representation, everything. Which I was actually surprised we didn't hear a lot about this year. I didn't hear any complaints.
I wonder
about
why we heard
representation.
nothing else but one specific thing. I can't imagine what went on.
I mean, nothing happened at the Oscars that was significant in any way.
No, I didn't even watch it. Didn't even know what day it was. But dude, I was there. That's crazy.
I knew what happened. Yeah, unfortunately, I sat through and watched it.
Yeah,
it was not fun. But I mean, I think another reason it might have won was it's a pretty accessible film. Like, I mean, it's family friendly. Like,
yeah.
It's a very coming of age stories are very relatable for everyone in some way.
Everyone grew up.
Everyone did grow up, unless they didn't. Wow. I think you took that a lot darker than I meant it, but I mean, you know, people are still like immature. You know?
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
You're going straight to death. So yeah, I think it's a very easy movie to like. Yeah. Like, I can't imagine someone saying that this movie, I don't know, I guess if you compare it to a Disney Channel movie and you're like a stuck up critic, then I guess, but like, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Like we said, they hit all the marks just perfectly. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was a very safe film.
Yeah.
Which I think typically I would say negatively, but I think in this case it worked really well.
Yeah, and I would say just kind of starting from where it started as in like the Sundance Film Festival and kind of grew the way it did. Like, being simple helped it. Like, I feel like if it was like greenlit as one of like the big movies that would have like gone across theaters, had its premieres, done all what it would have done, I think it would have had different expectations and it wouldn't have lived up to those. But this, like I said, yeah, definitely coming from where it came, I feel like helped the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't deserve everything that it got, because I definitely think it did.
Yeah, I mean, on top of Best Picture, it won Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor. The fact that Emilia Jones wasn't even nominated for Best Actress. I just
she
see
did
like
amazing.
There was a lot of backlash on that decision, and
Really?
Emilia Jones was like, she's like, I didn't realize people like this movie. Like, he was like, oh, yeah, I guess. Or no, I'm not thinking of her. I'm thinking of Rachel Zegler. That's what it was. Rachel Zegler there was tons of backlash, and like she was in the UK filming. She's playing Snow White, in a new adaptation. And
What else was she in? What would she have been voted for?
West Side Story. She played,
Maria.
Yeah,
main girl. Yeah.
And so like I saw like a red carpet interview where they were asked like, hey, like, how do you feel about this? Like, you're here now, because like, what happened was there was all this backlash for her not winning, and then they said, "Hey, you want to like give an award out?" Like, they invite her, and she was like, "I mean, I guess like I would love to go to the like." She's like, "I don't care if I'm like nominated." She's like, "I'll go," but also like, why do people care so much? Like, it doesn't. She's like, it literally doesn't matter. And I was like, that's another actress who's like, I can see going really far. Like, who's like young. She's also in her early 20s.
Wow.
She's playing Snow White. She's Batgirl.
Whoa.
The new one. Yeah. Like, and she did fantastic in West Side. She should have been nominated, but
yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah. So like, I think it got snubbed in a couple of spots, but I think overall Coda,
did great.
I did much better than I think it was expected to.
Yeah.
The other thing that like, when you're talking about Coda and its Oscar win, like, this is a really, really significant win for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously, like, it's a big win for the deaf community. Like, seeing that like a film like this is possible, where 3 out of the 4 of your main cast can't hear. Like, that's a major win, and like the fact they pulled it off on such a small budget.
Such a small budget.
A pretty short time frame. One of the things I noticed was this movie takes place over the fall in Massachusetts, but it is extremely green like all the leaves are green, and
Yeah.
so like, very clear didn't shoot it in the fall, but like
kind of makes sense. Yeah,
I don't know, like
that's a part of it. Like unless it was, I don't think it was like really like, besides it being relatively like close to Boston, like I really wouldn't have pinpointed it anywhere on the map if it just like didn't say.
Yeah. I also think that kind of helped it too.
Yeah.
It was like it was, you can kind of put it in any fishing town. It took place in the same town that Sean Hayter grew up in, which I think again also kind of helped it with authenticity.
So cool. Yeah.
It's massive for the deaf community and like just what is possible. It's also, I think, more significant is the streaming aspect of it all.
Yeah.
This is the first straight to streaming movie that has won Best Picture, and somehow Apple TV won the race against Netflix. I don't know how. I know you do not like Netflix.
It's not that I don't like Netflix, but like if I were to like see this movie on Netflix, I feel like it would have been promoted way differently, and not saying it would have done better or worse. I know if I was like scrolling through Netflix and I saw that on there, there's no chance I would have watched it.
That's fair.
And like honestly, just because like there's a lot, like Netflix has a lot, and it's not a bad thing. But to be fair, the way that Apple markets their shows and has them displayed, especially like in the app, like when you're scrolling through an Apple TV, you're on the app on your phone, iPad, whatever you're on, it fit right in. Like it just seemed like I straight up like thought it was like an Apple original at first. Like I would have had no idea.
Even like the title is a very similar font.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm just like it just fits so well. And like honestly, like it doesn't really surprise me that like Apple probably. To be fair, I don't know if that I feel like that 25 number is just like I feel like they just really like threw that out there and they were like, yeah, you can have it.
No, so
or was it like
from what I understand, Netflix got onto it first, and it started a big bidding war with all of the streaming giants. So like Netflix,
Apple said no,
Amazon, Hulu, Apple, yeah.
I could see it on Prime.
Yeah, so Apple ended up winning with 25 million. I think that's actually like the biggest distribution deal.
Wow.
For a movie this size. I mean, that more than doubles their budget.
Right.
And the thing that's also crazy is like, look at a movie like a company like Disney. They have a Marvel movie. There's millions of dollars that are put in that budget.
Right.
A general rule of thumb is when you distribute a movie, you want to put in the same amount of the budget. That's how much you put into marketing. And Disney also distributes their movies. So when you see that, they spent $100 million, that's pretty low for a Marvel movie, but they spent $100 million on a movie. Really, they're putting like at least $200 million. So they have to make that much back. With this, because they sold, I don't know if this is exactly how the deal worked, but the way I understand it is because they sold the distribution rights to Apple, they pocket $25 million, and then Apple has to pay to market the movie. So like the producers on Coda, they made bank on this.
That was a win-win. Everyone took home double pay that day.
That's another interesting thing too. A lot of the Best Picture nominations were at least available for streaming. Power of the Dog was straight to streaming. Dune went to streaming pretty quickly. King Richard was available on streaming.
I say Dune was the same day as theaters. Yeah.
Right. So like there were lots of day and date releases and movies that were available on streaming. Coda performed the worst by a lot. Like Dune, I think had like 54 million people in its first week.
That's crazy.
Coda, I think, had like a few thousand.
Wow.
That's
so like big difference.
Like when I said like at the beginning of the episode, like this is a true David and Goliath story. Like the fact that this movie won and like people didn't really see it. I think it only made like $1 million at the box office, which it went straight to streaming. It was in California for a couple of weeks just to be eligible, and that was probably about it. Huge for Apple. I mean, the only thing on Apple TV that I really cared about was Ted Lasso, because I think that's subjectively the greatest show of all time.
100,000%.
We're definitely doing an episode on Ted Lasso at some point.
So good.
Other than that, I don't care about anything on Apple TV.
That's how I felt for the longest time. Nothing ever, like I never, like there was no show that made me get it, honestly. The only reason I had it, there was something.
I liked the morning show. I take it back. I watched the morning show and I didn't like it. I watched the first season.
I think that might have been. It was that. And there was one other show.
Dickinson. That's the only other one I can think of. Oh, there was one with Chris Evans in it.
Yes. Yeah. Defending Jacob.
Yeah.
That was that. Did you ever watch that?
I didn't. I never watched that one.
Dude, you got it. That's seriously. That's so good, guys. So good. Oh my gosh. That was like one of the first shows that dropped on Apple TV Plus. It was one of like the originals that they made, and dude, it was so good. It's so good. I like to go back and. Man.
The other thing too is like we're naming shows.
Yeah.
We're not talking movies. I've heard the Tom Hanks one, the sci-fi Tom Hanks movie, was pretty good.
I was gonna say I don't think I've seen a single Apple original movie.
I haven't seen it. I feel like there's another one they made that I watched at some point. Like
trying to check and see.
I feel like they had the ship movie. It also had Tom Hanks in it. Greyhound. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That one that one didn't impress me, but I also seen that one. I don't know, but like in general, like Apple TV.
Oh, I forgot they did Palmer. Palmer is an original.
Oh, yeah, and they also did Cherry.
Yeah, Cherry.
Man, that movie.
I started to watch that and I did not.
It was so bad.
I had such high hopes for that movie. Honestly,
that's
just because
I was so excited for that movie, and it was anyway.
Yeah.
That's for another time. But like Apple TV's struggling. Like, and I think they even realized from the get go that they were going to have a hard time getting in the game. Like giving away a year subscription with like any purchase of a new device that's not a watch. Like this is huge for Apple because now production houses, distributors, they're going to go to them first,
right,
to get their movie because somehow this worked.
It worked out really well.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I almost feel bad for Netflix because like, I mean,
I don't.
I think every year since like 2019's Oscars when Roma got nominated for Best Picture, like they've had someone.
Oh, I forgot about that movie. Yeah.
They've had at least one movie like being nominated, and they just haven't been able to get a win. Power of the Dog. I thought it was gonna do it, and that's a Netflix original.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be it, but huge for Apple. Not so great for Netflix. The other reason I think this is significant, like with the streaming world, is do you think that in general, I think this past year is going to mark like a major shift in the way that people watch movies with COVID and everything. Like theaters were really struggling. I feel like they're kind of on the up and up again, but with a streaming original movie winning Best Picture, do you think that that's going to open the doors to more people saying I can just watch it at home versus I'll go to the theater?
I would say yes, only if COVID successfully did that. Because like even like from my own point of view, I don't see anything wrong with paying a ticket price or $20, $30 price and watching a movie at home. Now I'm also going to go pay for it and see it in the theater too. That's just my point of view. I'm gonna do both.
So
like I would never want it to completely replace the theater experience because it's not a theater experience.
It's not.
I mean, like I have my little HomePod minis and they do surround sound and I can listen to like it was actually that movie. Like listening to Coda, like that movie sounded so good. That was probably one of the best things about it. It's just like I had decent sound while watching it, but like yeah, and like the theater experience, it's a theater experience. You're not getting an experience at home. I mean, you can have like a fun family night, something, sure, but I don't know. I think if anything were to push it in that direction, I don't think it would be this whole like streaming Oscar.
You don't think so?
No, because I feel like it would have been when people were literally like given the choice, like, oh, you're stuck at home, here, just watch our movie. Like, why not? I think if people were really into it and it worked out that well, we wouldn't have theaters 2 years later. Because I mean, we're what, like, almost a year past the main of it. I mean, we're almost 3 years deep now.
It's been over a year.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, it's been. And like, don't get me wrong, I think the idea of the theater same day releases where it's online, it's streaming in theater same day, like, again, you got your movie out there, you got your views, people are able to still watch it and enjoy those at home. But like, theaters we're still able to keep up. Like, it's that's why I'm like, I don't think it would. I mean, there would have to be a big drastic change to really make it. So, and are you just saying like,
so here's my follow-up question: do you see yourself watching Coda again?
Oh,
like just in the future?
Yeah, I could see myself actually.
Do you think that you're going to go watch it in a theater again?
It's not there. So no.
It is actually.
Is it still in the theater?
Yeah. I mean, at some theaters.
In something. Okay. I didn't know that. I just
It's not
to be fair, I don't travel too far for movies. If it's a big movie, I'll travel 2 hours for IMAX. Like the boys go, we go see IMAX movies. Any Marvel movie, it's a big movie, we go see IMAX. You do that. That's the theater experience. If it's in our town theater, in our local theater, I'll go see it.
I've been known to spontaneously go anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours to go watch a movie on any given day.
I can't
for no particular reason. Just like, oh, hey, this theater's showing this thing I want to see. Sure. 3 hours. That's not too bad.
Honestly, I do remember like there were some days where you could just do that. I think the first time I ever realized I could do that, like, dude, I grew up. That's just a personal note, dude. Like, you never just like, I literally could just like leave the house.
Do whatever.
I could just go wherever. Mm-hmm. Bro, I'm gonna go to Target, buy some candy, and go see a movie. Like, yeah, you can do that.
Could do that.
Yeah, but no, I don't know.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem too. Is like, I know for my dad, for example, like he loved the day and date releases on HBO Max. Like he would watch that stuff at home.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he even paid for like, I don't actually know if he did this, but like he was open to paying like Premier Access for Disney Plus and like
I hated
watching
that.
like Black Widow or whatever
so much.
He saw bad reviews and didn't feel like paying for it. I don't even think he's seen Eternals yet, but
he doesn't need to.
Maybe at some point. But like,
is that a movie I would stream? No.
But like, like talking to my dad, like he was totally open to just paying a small premium to watch the movie at home as opposed to going to the theater. And I think it depends for some families as well, because like my wife's family, there's 10 of them. Mm-hmm. There's no way in this world you're going to get that whole family in a theater and they're going to sit through a whole movie. No shot, no chance. Mm-hmm. So I think in certain situations, especially for families, if Disney's like, hey, pay $30 for 10 of you to watch this at any time, because Premier Access gave it to you for what? Until it released, and then it was free for everyone. So I mean, you can still watch it whenever. So well, then I think the also logic is too is like if that ever got taken down, you would still have access to it.
Correct, right? Because it just sits in your little Premier paid section. So like at that point, I think it just depends on your situation. Now, I don't think I guess another answer to that initial question. I don't think streaming releases will ever get rid of the theater. Like I don't think anyone would just be like, this is only on like. Because I feel like if Disney did like a Disney only released movie, that's your Disney Channel movie, bro. Like people aren't going to see it the same way. People aren't going to treat it the same way, especially because they're not going to get access to Oscar nominations. They're not going to have different levels because you got to have that in a theater. And I think that's one thing. Unless they drastically change those rules, which is going to take a lot, because even COVID didn't do that.
That's fair.
I would say it's I don't think streaming will honestly replace the theaters. It would at least be 15 years from now. I would have to. It's got to be like a while from now before like maybe theaters just can't keep up or something. I mean, it's because for a while, we almost lost our local theater. So many theaters shut down.
We did lose our local theater.
We did actually. Yeah, they actually did. Yeah, but then it came back, we're very lucky. So
we lost our theater, and then I moved 17 hours away.
You really did that.
I really did.
What's the best theater experience I can get? All right, Texas. Let's go,
I'm gonna go to Texas for a little bit. Oh, our theater's back open? Okay, I come home. 3 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mostly agree with you. I could definitely see a world where the Academy switches things up and has slightly different rules where maybe it has to like reach a certain number of streams or
maybe certain Premier Access pay, like
right. Because I mean, even just the whole like it has to be in a theater to be eligible, like that is that's a very old school way of looking at things. Just because at the time, like it was either watching the theater or you would have to buy it on DVD or whatever.
A year later, right?
So I mean, that's why it was like that. So everyone had a chance to see it,
and that's why I'm saying I don't think it'd be impossible for it to happen, but it's going to be 15 years from now when those old white guys that are sitting at that table are not at that table. Not saying they're doing anything wrong or they're making the wrong choices. It's just it's going to take a while for someone else to come through, and then those choices get switched out. I
think the old white guys are going to be there to stay, which is not something I hope happens, but I think it's just an unfortunate reality because Hollywood sucks. But yeah, I really love Coda. I'm glad it won. I think it deserves all of the laurels that it's getting.
I would personally place that in one of my like top few movies I've seen. One in a while. That was just in a while. It was just a feel good. Yeah, it was a fun movie. It was just really fun. And like, dude, like I cry in movies. I was about to say I don't really cry that much. I do. It depends.
I sat next to you during Spider-Man.
Everyone cried. If you didn't cry during Spider-Man, like you're dumb.
I cried at Spider-Man, but not at the parts I was supposed to cry at. Like Aunt May died. Oh man, that sucks. But then like when all three of them started swinging around, like I had tears coming down. Yeah. I was so excited.
Yeah, when Toby came through that portal, yeah, like those tears of joy. It's different. Yeah. It's different.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure. Totally.
Yeah, totally. So
so you're saying that this movie made you cry?
No, I was very close. There were a few times where like you get the little burn in your nose and you're just like, oh shoot, and like but no, nothing.
Yeah, like whenever like her dad like at the end after the concert like like pulls her aside.
Oh,
and, like,
dude,
so
that
can,
actually
like, feel her
that
sing, like,
killed me when he like And I don't know if it's like whatever I've been watching recently or something. I straight up thought man was gonna like choke her out. I was like, he just said like you're not going anywhere.
That's not
obviously
how that works.
That's not how that works. No, not at all. But
you
like,
want to sing?
Yeah, not anymore. You're not gonna be deaf. You're gonna be mute. No, I'm just kidding. But like, dude, that and then he just like he could feel the vibrations of her throat, like her voice, and she like that was. Just, I was like, bro, like whoa, like that was crazy. Or just like her, just like discussions with their parents, and it was just like. The realization that it hits them and it hits her and they're both like yelling and they both kind of like yelling, but then they both like it hits them both and then they both like are like split from the conversation. I was just like, wow, like that was tense. Like that's crazy. Like they did so freaking good, man.
I mean, it was super emotional, but I like how we just like we like went way off into the path and then now somehow we're like back to where we started. But like I also love how. Like, yeah, you have these tense, like, emotional sequences, but also, this movie was hilarious.
Bro.
Like, Troy Koster's talking about, like, his favorite thing about this movie is that he got to dirty sign. Like,
hands down, he was definitely the, like, highlight, one of my favorite actors in that movie. Like, he did.
The doctor's office scene was...
Bro,
so brilliant, and just showing like how close the family was, but then also like the embarrassment that Ruby like has to like the things she has to deal with as a Coda, or like the scene like where she's with her boyfriend like practicing and like they have to like go down and like her parents like sit down like and like
that was
playing about it was like even if you didn't have subtitles like you knew that he was explaining like how to put on a condom like you didn't need to read what he was saying, but like just the way he did it was all it was just so brilliant.
He said, "Put your helmet on that soldier, man." That was that dude, and it's of course because he's just what's his name? Miles is just sitting there, just like genuinely kind of doesn't know, and then he's like doing the gestures. And he's like, "Wow!" He's like, "This is happening." He's like, "This is a conversation." He's like, "No," I'm like,
"Yeah,
that was."
Yeah, to wrap up, do you have any other final thoughts on Coda and winning Best Picture or?
It was well deserved. It was a good movie. Good movie, in my opinion. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I was very impressed. I loved watching this movie, and I'm really excited to see what all of these people involved go on to do next.
Yeah,
Sean Hayter, Amelia Jones, Troy Koster.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for what this means for the future, and hopefully it'll involve the theater experience staying alive and
better.
If
it dies, I die.
You heard it here first, folks. This has been the Popcorn Hangover. Today we've been discussing Coda and why it deserves and why it won Best Picture at this year's Oscars ceremony. Make sure you follow us on all of the things, Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're also on TikTok. Instagram, TikTok. Watch, listen
YouTube,
on Spotify and YouTube.
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, all at the Popcorn Hangover. We'll see you next week.
Bet. Dude, that was fun. That was a good one. That movie was so good.